Hello everyone, Paper Spock here. A very good friend of mine said they'd like to watch me be eating over it sometime, so that is what I am here to do. I think I'm even going to beat it twice. First time I am going to trying to decide which I want to do first. But the first one, I guess, I'm going to just kind of describe what. Okay, I adjusted some tuning, and I don't think I want this tuning adjusted quite this way. Uh, Usually trackpad tuning is what is recommended, but I haven't had it on lately, so I'm going to keep it off for now. So you see how we there's kind of a pogo. That's one of our basic moves in this game is you get the hammer, and you see you can swing the hammer all the way around, so you can hit the ground. So you've got to be a little bit careful. Got to tuck it in, and then poke it up. And then there's this other move, which we'll call today the latch. I'm making up terminology on the fly, so we latch onto it, and then we can swing ourselves up slowly and let ourselves down. We can just kind of fling over this like that. Wow, we flung pretty well. You'll see there is commentary at the bottom from the game. I have this turned way down. You probably can't hear it. Maybe if you like audio boosted bunch you could, but on this little corner, I like to pogo off and then try to hook over to the right gently. The thing about hooking, oh, I didn't need to, I just landed on it. But the thing about hooking is some sometimes maybe you want to feel like you should hook on by like grabbing, but that pushes you off stuff. So when you're really trying to hook, you're just kind of trying to go limp almost and just hope that it lands. Like, see, I didn't like try to push against it. I just let it, and then I can latch up and like faster, higher level play. Probably what you want to do is like keep your momentum going. But here, I think it's just perfectly fine to just set yourself down, and then we could pogo here. We probably can hook. I'm going to do a fling. I'm just going to kind of do a swinging motion where I'm moving. I don't think I'm doing a full kind of arc with my hammer, but I'm moving it a little bit in between. Just kind of doing a straight shot in that, and then we'll see. I should be able to get up to the pipe. Maybe I can hang up higher. Okay, see, I pushed a little and I almost ruined the hook by that. It is very tricky even now for me to manage to do that. So now we're going to do a little pogo and try to get, yeah, we got there. And this is a bit trickier of a latch, but we can do it, I'm quite sure. And then we just kind of, I hate to say, then we just keep kind of doing stuff because uh, that's the rest of the owl meme. But latch on there. Okay, we did manage to grab that. Now here we have a nook, and this is a nook I like to set myself down in and then pogo out of it. I do like to get a stable footing. See how I let it kind of settle. And I pogo up and then I latch, and this red bar is slick. If you move slowly enough, you can get around it. But there is also a little notch here where the red meets the rock. So now we're going to do what is referred to as the devil chimney. So we're going to pogo up and then just kind of try to slip our hammer up to hang onto the light, and then do a little fling to the other light, and then try to fling out. It's a little trial and error for me, but I did that in kind of a bit too fast of a movement. But we're going to try this again, and then do another, and then we hooking on this is not bad, and then kind of trying to set yourself down. We're tilted a little, but I think we can just kind of midair sort of angle it and go up like that. And then we do the windmill here until we get over here. We just kind of do a giant big circle, is how I like to. I mean, there's maybe a better way of moving across flat land, but that's the way I usually do it. Now this is something we're going to try to fling ourselves up and hook, and it's a little harder. There's a harder place still later in the game, and I'm kind of windmilling. That's kind of my intuition here, but you can do it little by little. You see, I'm falling, but I don't worry about falling here because it is very hard to fall back on this wall. Now, once we start heading this way, we can do all sorts of maneuvers. We can like see how you can kind of adjust where you are, and then you can like swing it over and adjust where you are and swing it. Okay, let's go back a bit. I can show you something else. I think this is kind of what speedrunners do a bit more, but you can kind of just do a bunch of quick little jabs like that. But the idea here for me, the level player I am, is to land on that and then carefully extract the hammered tip, and then get over here. And now there's two ways forward. The way I like now, and it took me a long time to get it, is to do the skip. And the skip is basically you want to grab onto that ledge way up there and then fling yourself. But usually I like to do it out of a jump. Let's see what happens if we just kind of pull up from here. Okay, we kind of hit the thing there, the wall of crates. We want to latch onto the fence up there if we can. So the idea is to try to latch on, and this usually takes me a few goes. But afterwards, we're gonna take the other way. And you'll see what else you can do. Because I think that's probably easier for new players. If you're willing to, like, grind here a little and figure out the movement, this isn't bad for new players either. But I did really like the normal way. Okay, we're gonna... Okay, not high enough. You're gonna be like, does this guy really have, like, 200 wins in getting over it? And the answer is yes, but I'm good at certain things. Maybe it's a little pressure here. Maybe I'm like, there we go. That'll be enough. Okay. So see how I kind of fling back, forth, where when I was going towards the wall, I would just kind of push against it, so it would force me back towards the fences. It's kind of a movement I've learned that I don't have a good name for or a description of than just kind of watch what I did. But we're gonna fall down though intentionally because I want to show you the other path, which I'm nowhere near as good at because I don't do it as often, but it's not horrible. Now, this is what looks like one of the scariest jumps in the game. And we're just going to wait here. See, we were caught. You can fall down here, but it's pretty hard. It would be very funny, fall all the way down here. But no. Right now, I have this safety net. So if you flail around while you're falling, you may well knock yourself into the abyss. If you stay calm, there is a very good chance you're going to get out of this. A little scary jumping up, but like what you can do is if you want to be very careful, you can latch onto this. Once you've latched, you can bring yourself back up. And then set yourself on the rim here, and then you're going to shoot straight up and then latch. I just happened to land there naturally. But anyway, that's what happens if you fall. I'm not planning on falling. I still may fall. That would be funny. And it definitely is possible to fall all the way down. But anyway, I'm going to do a little jump over the gap. And this is such a weird piece of geometry because you want to like grab onto this, but then you start sliding because your hammer has a weird angle on that. So what you do instead is you set yourself down in this nook, and then you grab up here, straighten yourself out, and you slide down. Then this next step is probably the scariest because what I like to do is I like to grab on this, fling up, and then try to grab the rake. Let's see what my muscle memory does here. Okay, that was a little too tentative. And see, I'm probably not making it. No, that's the issue of trying to use that surface and why you really need to just grab up here like this. And like, if you're a higher level player than me who can do it without that, that's fine. I'm sure a lot of you exist out there. And you probably have a higher chance of watching this, because who the heck's still watching Getting Over Us content? Especially just things that aren't like watching someone get all angry over it who's never played it before. But now we're going to do a swing up. So, and then we're going to hook on to the slide. See, I just gently latched on. And then we can pull ourselves up and over. And yeah, we're probably going to have a little issue there. We're right on the edge, but I think we can secure ourselves before we start sliding. Yeah, I couldn't quite get onto that peg, but now I'm going to be able to pull myself over. Then I'm going to do a diagonal pogo over to those boxes, and it's going to go great, because that's an easy jump. And then the really hard part about this path is we've got to fall intentionally and to latch on to a corridor on our right. So we've got to just kind of let go and then swing over. And then see, I pressed up against it and then I flew up, which is what you don't want to do when you're latching. You've got to do some tricky movements here, so sometimes that happens. Okay, we are basically back to where we were. If we fall, we will use the shortcut to get back up from here. So now we're going to grab onto this little corner and then give ourselves a little leeway and push over and then grab, push against the wall. See how I'm steadying myself so I can't fall anymore here. If I can't get up this way, but if I swing over here, I can pull up and then do that again. Then finally, I can get up on here. And the way I like to do this is just set myself down on this in just the right kind of a way, so that when I shift my weight a little and I settle this way. You're not going to like tilt any further over. I'm having a little connection issues right now on my internet because I'm streaming this actually. Uh, it's usually a very low latency stream. It's of good quality. But what I want to do, now that that's over, is I'm going to push off of here and then latch onto the security camera. And when I'm doing this a bit faster and looser, I sometimes go ahead and I just straight up pull on the security camera to launch myself up. But like, if you're a newer player, that's probably not the best call for you. I mean, if you feel comfortable doing it, they're willing to risk a little progress if you go wrong there, or think you have good ability to manage panic and not flail, uh, and just kind of treat that corridor intelligently earlier, where I showed you how you can brace it so you're not going to fall. That's fine. But anyway, now that we're on this, we're going to pogo up and to the right, like I'm positioned to, and latch onto that sofa. Now from here, we're going to slide like that, and then we're going to do a fling here. I think you can maybe also do a pogo, but I feel like doing a fling. I corrected off that wall. See, I pushed against that wall on the left to get myself over. Now, maybe let's show how you do that as a pogo, because maybe that's a bit tricky. So we latch on here, we pull ourselves up and overs, we show what we can do, and then we do this and we latch. We swing over, lower ourselves, and we're going to do it again. And these steps are weird angled, but if we just are very gentle, we'll latch onto them quite easily. Unless we don't grab onto them. Okay. Uh, like I said, I am not an expert. I'm not a speedrunner here. Oh boy. I really showed that off, didn't I? But I do enjoy this game. We'll see a little bit of the... Oh, that kind of went through the camera. That was interesting. But we can go up here. We can latch on around. We can... Ugh. Well, you're seeing some examples of how I try to handle it when things go a bit unexpected in terms of what my plan was. But anyway, I'm up here now. Maybe that wasn't the clearest way of showing you how to get up here, though, so let's... I want to fall back down, though. I may fall back down later anyway. There's a heck of a part. Yeah, let's fall down here. Sure. Why not? I'm gonna push up and then... Oh, no, 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 no. It's funny how I shouldn't say never, but I don't really feel like this part is usually a struggle for me when I'm playing. Okay, we've gotten that. And see, I'm falling into my muscle memory here, but I'm trying to show you how to do it in a way that is maybe a bit more approachable. Anyway, I'm gonna pogo up, latch. Let's try the swing. I think the swing is yes. The swing seems more reliable here. And I just kind of latch over. You need to get it so it's angled how you want and keep it angled that way, but you don't want to provide resistance against the surface you're landing on. Now we can just very carefully pull ourselves up and over onto the toilet, do a diagonal jump from there, and we're going to just kind of try to latch onto that little brown bin, I think it is. It's wooden. Yep, that's good. Now we can just swing ourselves up, lower ourselves down, latch onto this, swing over, and yeah, we're not too concerned about this. There is a way to fall when we exit this, but it's not very common to fall here because you can just make it very easy to not be able to fall by just swinging over to the left here. And that hole we're in, we don't want to fall in, but there's not too much of a risk of actually falling down it. So let's pull ourselves over. And I like positioning, so I can try to knock the orange off of it and then set myself on the little table. Possibly grill. I think little table, though. So now we get on like this, set ourselves down. This is one of the more scary pogos in the game. So we want to poke ourselves up a little, and then swing around and then latch. But if we poke up too hard, we're going to hit that surface at an angle. It's going to push us to the left. We're going to be back on that slide portion I showed you when we were climbing the long route. But let's see if we can pull this off the first time. Okay, we can. This looks scary, but it's really not. Because we're latched on, we have a good amount of room. So we swing over, we lower ourselves, and we get hit by a little connection error, which is a little scary here. Um, It's an interesting little additional element I've added by the way I have this set up. I can run this game on this computer, but it's a bit tricky. It's not exactly what I like to do. It runs much worse. It looks much worse. So I latched on. Okay, I need to explain what I'm doing. Don't like setting down here. Okay, we're going to intentionally wiggle. And the point of wiggling is to just show you. Okay, we've landed here. We've pulled ourselves up here. Then I got distracted. We're going to latch on, pull ourselves up, and set ourselves down. We're going to do that again on this little nook here, and then set ourselves down on that nook up further. And we want to try to set ourselves in that nook in a certain kind of way. So we move over, down, we let go, and we have good positioning here. Okay, okay. Now we're going to grab onto this cliff surface and slowly swing around and set ourselves down there. It doesn't look like we can sit there, but we can. A little inconsistent, but we're going to move slowly. Not too fast, but with a little bit of strength to it. We're going to set ourselves down over, trying to align the bottom of our pot with that little nook there as much as we can, because we'll hang like that. And then we can latch onto this very easily, swing ourselves around. There's a much faster technique people do where you have a lot less worrying to do because you're either going to get through there quickly or fail quickly. So we just kind of move ourselves here. We're going to get underneath. And this is just a series of pogos where you're trying to pogo perpendicular to the wall. If we go this way, we're going to launch off to the left and we're going to have problems. If we pogo kind of this way, we can swing around and latch onto the kind of cat gargoyle, leopard gargoyle type creature. Anyway, let's have a go at it. Okay, you heard me gasp there. Because that was not the best. But we can, yeah, that was a bit better. Now we can lift up and swing around. That thumb there, we're going to do the same thing on that, but it's scarier. You see how I kind of got it up in the air during my hang time and then was able to get it around. This is going to be hard, possibly, because sometimes your hammer sticks. And you see the hammer has stuck. So then we can kind of move it up and down, or we just set it on there like that, and then some gentle forcing, jimmy it around, and then eventually you see how I should be able to set myself down at this angle, and then reposition. And I think you can hear the bell. So launch up, latch on, and then I'm going to do a big swing. And we have the jump scare of the bats. And I happen to land right on this nook, which is good luck, but I could have tried to grab my hammer over here, and then you see you can have it in a stuck position where you're. This is not a good position to be in because I'm having to flail around, but it's not intractable. We can eventually get it and then slide it up and then pull ourselves up. It's kind of awkward, but we can eventually just kind of swing ourselves around and it's okay. And if you flail around the wrong way, so the thing to know is do be aware the bats are going to come for you. They're going to shoot out, they're going to fly around, they're going to scare you. So be prepared because that's going to be a bit of a jump scare. But then you're here, and we're just going to kind of pogo over. And now we are in a very safe position because we've got to go over even further. Any falls we do here, we're just going to kind of fall into this little nook here. So this is kind of like what I like to call a soft checkpoint in this game, where If you die, you're not really dead. And I mean, you never die in this game, but like if you fall, you're not going to lose a lot of progress unless you're doing some really wild, crazy stuff. Like if your cat grabs your mouse and starts playing around with it, maybe you're dead. And by dead, I mean sent back to really early. But this game is kinder than people give it credit for. But we're gonna have to do a little bit of. I'm gonna reposition here. So I'm trying to do it a bit gentler. We reach over, we swing, and we lower. And we're gonna have to do. This is one of my worst jumps in the game, by the way. Uh, you have to try to figure out a good pogo where you can latch onto the snow up above. And that is darn near perfect. Now, the hat, I like just kind of trying to ignore it and swinging past. That can cause you problems. You may want to do a jump that kind of clears the hat and then do a second jump. This next thing is the anvil jump, and lots of people hate the anvil jump. It is an infamous jump, but really what you're trying to do is that cliff way up to the right. It's a pretty far cliff, but you can definitely get there. What you need to do is position yourself so that you're like halfway balanced on the anvil. Like that was too far, but yeah, like that. And then we're going to do a big swooping jump and then try to hang onto it. So we're going to use that technique we've been using all along of pushing up and then grasping it. But we didn't quite hit it. We didn't quite hit it, and that's okay. But I'm going to show you something really quick where there is a certain foothold that I sometimes like to try to use if I'm flailing, which is this right here, because if you hit it just right, you can get quite a bit of vertical. See, if I had done that a little bit better, you could grab onto it. So if you really, really, really can't handle the anvil jump, that jump is maybe harder, but like, sometimes different things click for different people. Maybe try that instead. But anyway, we're going to set ourselves down here, like so. And we're going to boost, and I let go of the mouse, and it's still kind of that swinging motion. So either letting go of the mouse caused that, or there's just kind of an inherent swinging motion. You need to almost anticipate it and pull away a little. Some of this is just muscle memory that I'm trying to explain, and that is sometimes quite difficult to explain muscle memory. But we're going to go here, and we're going to zoom up, and nope, not quite. I imagine that thinking about this is going to make it harder for me, but to explain it to you, I've got to think about it. Nope, not quite. That was a little high of a jump. That was a little scary. We don't want to go zooming off to the left. But I don't love this, but I'm going to give it a go. Oh, I think the guy in the pot and I said oh at the same time there. Unfortunately. Or maybe not unfortunately. Maybe you got a good kick out of that. You got a good kick out of that? Please write in the comments, I got a good kick out of that. No, please don't do that. That would be very silly. That would be very, very silly. Uh, okay, so we're at a point of equilibrium. And now when I'm doing my second run where I'm like not trying to teach how to do this, well, that's going to be even worse. Then there'll be an expectation of, oh, this time he's... Ah, there we go. So we move ourselves up, lower ourselves down, latch over to the right, repeat, and try to set ourselves on that shelf. It's not too bad usually, but you can set yourself down and then do another pull-up. Pogoing basically a little to the left to avoid the cliff, but then we're going to swing over, and this is a really easy jump to land. Now the right is nothing you want. The next thing is a little scary, and you may have to redo the last part quite a few times because this is rough. Uh, we're going to pogo over and then latch and then try to stabilize ourselves. And you see you can like latch on to a decently small amount. Now the really hard thing is this next jump because it is a bit of a blind jump. Maybe adjust a little to see it, but really I've got a sort of mental muscle memory for where it is. So I'm going to launch into the air, and then midair I'm going to decide how I need to swing my hammer to try to latch onto it, depending on how the actual trajectory goes. Okay. Oh no, that didn't quite work. You can sometimes swing back and forth between those two. Um. Ooh. So I'm just gonna kind of keep talking, I guess. But an important rule about this game is when you have a setback, you can't get too upset. If you get too upset, you're not going to do as well. And I'm getting that a little. I'm getting that a little here, honestly. Not super upset, but just like a little frustrated at myself. Um, but not horribly. We're just kind of acknowledging the feeling. So we swing over, and we go like this, and we pogo up, and we don't quite get it, but that's okay. Oh, that was a little weird. Sometimes you get subtle movements that catch in weird ways. Oh, and we're getting little quotes from the developer, from Mr. Bennett Foddy himself. That's okay. See, if I swung away from that a little, I think I would have latched it. And I'm trying to decide what I'm going to talk about on my second run, because I've talked about most of the mechanics by now, of how this works. Ooh, oh, I think maybe if I could have... I'm going to just start trying to go a little bit quicker here. Oh, maybe that's not really the play. And if you're a speedrunner, it is. If it's a speedrunner, you hit the anvil while you're mid-motion and latch onto it in this magical way. Not really magical. They have some methodology to it. But okay, I was all ready to do a second latch maneuver, but we got up. We got up again. We fell down and we got back up again. I don't know the rest of that song, except they say something like that over and over, and then something about drinking the whiskey drink and the I forget the other drinks. I'm vaguely aware of that song. So we latch on, we slide over, and we're gonna do a little poke. And I knew to latch to the right because I could tell I was beginning to overshoot it in a way that I can't describe to you. It's just you're going to do that jump several times, and if you're really lucky, you nail it the first time and you get past this and never fall back. But probably you're going to have to get a bit of a spatial sense for how you're traveling there. Now the rest of these are similar, but you can see them on screen. They're usually not an issue. I came in a little hot at the top there, but the friction caught me, but I needed to be ready to swing over if I blew past. We're going to move a little further over to give ourselves a bit better of a jump. And really, if you make it past the snowman, you're usually going to be okay. If you just, well, I shouldn't say usually, because like maybe this is your first time and you don't have a lot of experience, but you usually can do fine. I mean, I usually can do fine by now with the work I've done, but they're a lot less hard than the first jump. If you can nail the first jump, those other jumps are probably fine. So another nice little latch. So now we have the bucket jump, the infamous bucket jump in the snake. Do not ride the snake. Ride it if you want to for fun. It's just going to send you back to the start. Uh, it's funny. Um, I don't know why Bennett Foddy says I'll feel bad if I win, because I won't feel bad if I win. I mean, maybe some people will. I mean, maybe in some ways in life I'll feel bad if I win, because then there's nothing to go for. I mean, the game getting a little philosophical on us maybe, but anyway, we want to pogo up and we want to latch onto the left side of the bucket. There's scenarios where we don't land the latch and we go from there, but that's what we're trying to do. We do it the first time. So then we swing a little to our left. We can do a big alley oop, and then we either land on it or we can latch onto it. But as I'm doing a tutorial, I guess I will fall down to try to demonstrate other stuff. So we can reset the bucket. You don't want to try to jump onto a bucket that's moving, swinging back and forth wildly. This is probably okay at this point, but earlier not so good. We can jump up and then we've jumped on and hung onto the wrong side of the bucket. What I like to do in this position is try to go all the way around and oh, well, that wasn't too good. You can slowly move your hammer all the way around and sometimes get it to latch in the right position. Okay, the bucket is mostly reset. Oh, that will happen. You sometimes latch on a little and it just falls out of your grasp. The other thing that'll be interesting is how much does talking distract me from my process? Because it definitely is going to distract a little. But, maybe this is one of those things I've done enough that it won't be an issue. Do you know, there's that experiment, psychological experiment, where I want to say they did it with cockroaches, but people, when they're watched, or organisms when they're watched of a certain kind, I don't know how broad it goes. Maybe it wasn't cockroaches, maybe it was just like mice, but if they're under a lot of pressure being watched by a bunch of others of their species or something they consider to be being watched, then if they're well practiced at it, they tend to do a little better when they're being watched. I don't know if, and also I should disclaim this by this is from a psychology textbook I read once. Okay, we weren't on the. I tried to swing back and forth. I would have fallen off the bucket, so I was trying to do a big swing to see if I could salvage it. I should have explained that, but this is a. I think this was a college psychology thing I learned, but I know the field of psychology changes way faster than other fields, and so take anything I say with a grain of salt in those domains. Um, and sometimes bad psychology gets retaught for way longer than it should. So here we're in this very scary looking position, but we're going to just pogo over and then latch onto the right. Scary latch, but it's not too hard of a latch. I get it most times I do it. The next part is the ice mountain. And the trick to Ice Mountain is there are little handholds you can latch onto. However, there's two halves to Ice Mountain. And the thing you initially want to do, like your intuition to do, is I lift myself up, I slide down in, and then I latch around again, and I look for the next handhold. And looking for the handhold is just kind of pressing gently and noticing where your hammer stops, and it stops. If you keep pushing, you're going to push yourself off, so you need to look for a lower one. But the issue here is the next handhold up after this is more than a hammer's reach away. So at some point on the first part of Ice Mountain, you're just going to have to go for it. A handhold will help here, but wild swinging is what you're going to end up resorting to. So we're going to wild swing and then try to latch onto something, and we latched onto something, and then we swing again. We swing again, and we swing some more, and it's just kind of that sort of movement. Now the second half absolutely are able to do that all the way up. It's a little tricky, but you can. I usually just swing for it, but we'll show you the. I've kind of forgotten places the hand holds, but I will try to find you them. It's just the other way is a lot faster. It's mostly reliable. Like you sometimes slide all the way down the hill, but now the next handhold, yes, it's here. It's that came back to me well enough. I used to do this all the time. Then I kind of graduated. I feel like this one's fairly high up. Is that a valid handhold? Yes, it is. Okay. So we slide in there a bit. We grip it, then we can do that again. Down and in. Now, we could try to pull ourselves up and set ourselves on here, and then reach around and go slow. I usually kind of like at this point to like go up and then pogo, something like that, and then you just very carefully go over. This next part, you don't want to fall to the left. You don't want to push off in a way that shoots you to the left, but otherwise it's not too bad. I'll fling up the shopping cart, and then we can sometimes swing around and grab that, but probably you should just get yourself over the shopping cart the first time you're here and then set yourself down. And then you go up, swing around. You don't quite hit it, maybe. We can also go off that, and then, oh, yeah, we didn't want to do too much midair because we could end up getting horizontal movement. That didn't quite go our way. And then, there we go. There we go. Now this is the very difficult part for me because you're going to jump up then latch on. That we can probably do. There's no good way to pogo up here without, like, pushing off to the left, so we're gonna have to do an alley-oop and try to latch on to something, and we fall on that. That light there, you can latch onto it and set down on it. Here, I probably want to do a pogo and try to latch on above. And we don't quite nail it. I don't quite nail it. And so it's just a matter of patience and doing those movements again and again, working your way up. I don't have a great constant one. Sometimes I can swing up so high from the ledge that I get to the next one up, and that's helpful usually. But we're gonna try to pogo again. Now our hammerhead is stuck. Oh, and it comes unhooked in a bad way when it becomes unstuck. Sometimes that'll happen to you. Swing up and grab, but we can't. Oh, see, we're just kind of trying to fight this ever so gently because it's got big, big swings, and your hammer can get in the way of you a lot. Okay, we latched onto that. We pull up. And we didn't quite latch on like we wanted. This is... Maybe if I could describe it better, that would be a sign that I understood it better. Maybe I haven't fully grokked the meaning of this part in my over 200 runs. Oh, oh darn. Okay. There we go. Don't go there. Ah, no! Okay. Okay, I just wanted to stop and try to be totally still there because I knew maybe I could latch on to survive, but like more often than not, I probably would have shot myself off the mountain. And that is not a good look at all. And yeah, this is probably my roughest section of the game. Okay, pulling up and up. And then we're free, we're in space, except there's asteroids. You don't want to push yourself downwards off of these. You want to swing, keeping it away, and that helps move you along until you get to something you can latch onto and push off of in a more useful way. So very soon we're gonna do that, and yeah, that was a good. We hit into another asteroid, but we're gonna sink in a little and I think fall on the asteroid that's gonna be about below us. Yep, that's about how it was. Push up and maybe this does it. Maybe this gets us to the end. You'll see the stars change color when it's the moment. And oh, there we go. There we go. We have completed a win. I'm gonna hit the space bar and the fun little song where they rework something. This is the longest run I've had in a long time. 37 minutes. Usually I do it in between 10 and 20 minutes. We'll see if that happens on my second playthrough. But see, that was our 218th. That was my 218th win. And I'm not going to do this. It's cool. It is cool, and I encourage you to do this when you have a chance. Just don't stream it. No, we got a new game again. So this time, I'm just going to kind of not talk about what I'm doing as much, but more about what this game means to me in a sort of a way. And this is a game I play for a variety of reasons. Sometimes I play it when I'm bored and I don't know what and I don't know what I want to play. But other times I play it when I'm sad. And it helps. It helps. It's just distracting enough that I don't have to worry about like my thoughts going on as much as I would. It kind of is distracting, but also it gives me a sense of accomplishment of this game is legendarily difficult. I mean, it's not as difficult as it seems, but it has a reputation as being a very difficult game, and I am going to do this in 20 minutes at the very worst. What people spend hours trying to do. Now, my first time I played it, it took me like 24 hours of gameplay to beat it, which is like extremely high. Like, someone playing it for the first time, I think, how long to beat has it at like 6, 8 hour range? Maybe even 4. So you definitely can learn faster and quicker, but it's taught me some stuff in terms of just patience and determination, just kind of going back at it, not worrying when you fall, not panicking when you fall, knowing you can, if you can get there once, you can get there again. And, oh, there we go. Do that again. And yeah, I'm talking about the mechanics now a little, but uh, it is easy to get drawn into them, which is part of why it's so distracting. And I've had rough times occasionally, and so I like to go back to it sometimes because things feel a little better when you're playing, or they feel not even necessarily better, but they distract you. Like you can't just totally distract away everything, but in the moment to get through an intense moment, sometimes I have found that for me that helps. I don't know if this is not professional advice. This is absolutely not professional advice. That might be a horrible way of going about things. Oh my, huh. Okay, I just noticed my cauldron is black right now, and it gets 2% more golden every time you beat it, till you beat the game 50 times and it's a golden cauldron. But this is a machine I haven't played it on a lot before, so it's cool that it keeps your number of wins, but it doesn't keep your your level of being golden. And what else can I say about what this game means to me? I think the game is gentler than it tries to pretend it is. Like the game has this reputation of being mean and mocking and sarcastic, but if you take a lot of what it says sincerely, ha, I could have very easily fallen off there. I still may, but you take a lot of what it says sincerely, and it's a much friendlier game. Like, oh, I feel bad for you. If you're like, oh, you're trying to taunt me, but no, no, maybe Bennett Foddy does feel bad for you, and then it's a little easier. Maybe that's a lesson in its own, that just your perspective and interpretation of things really influence how you see things. But the reason the game, I say, is rooting for you is one of the last messages is him rooting you on. Like, if you listen to the messages, which I've turned way down, so maybe you're reading them in text, or maybe you'll watch another playthrough, but he starts out taunting you, but then by a certain point, it's like, ah, you who've come so far. And then he says something really inspiring. I'm not doing it justice. He wrote it well and he delivers it well. So we're doing that delicate swing, and also it has save points. Like I said earlier, it has soft save points where here I can easily fall all the way down to the slide. Once I'm past the steeple of the church, um, that's as far as I'm probably going to fall for the rest of the game. Even that, I was able to do a bit of a controlled fall. Ah, we hear the bells. We didn't quite do the jump I wanted, but I luckily didn't commit to swinging around. There we go. There we go. So it does give a Dark Souls feeling, the bells ringing, because how the towers in those games, well, two very specific towers. You play the games, you know. If not, that's fine. Um, let's. I've kind of not entirely run out of what I want to talk about. Um, oh, I love the opening monologue. Um, I think in some ways it's true. I think in some ways you can question it, but it feels good to listen to. The starting over is harder than starting up. I think there's ways that's true and ways it's not true, but it's important, I think, to acknowledge the ways in which it is true. That it's just, I think you have more tools when you try to do something the second time. But at the same time, your morale takes a huge hit. And I think that's what the game is maybe getting at in sort of a way, that having to start over can really feel rough. But but it's not as rough as it seems. My other favorite line, I can't remember exactly how it's phrased, but we'll save your progress for you, Ben Foddy says, including your mistakes. And that is, your mistakes are your progress. Your mistakes are your progress. When you make a mistake, you learn. You learn something, and that's progress. And maybe it doesn't feel good, but it's progress. And if you don't take risks, you don't make mistakes, and then you don't learn. And that's something that I really could stand to learn in several ways. Yeah, we didn't push near far enough there. Uh, yeah, this is not going to be my best run ever, but I'm not confident yet enough to say it's going to be a. I should be. It should be way better than the other one I just did because I'm not quite focusing on it in the same way. But like I said, the game has little moments where sometimes it says stuff I love, sometimes it says stuff I don't like. The thing that's on screen right now is the text you get when you first hit the orange, the infamous orange hell, as it is called. It feels like we're closer now, composer and climber, designer and user. You could have reviews, but you didn't. There is something in you that was hidden that chose to continue. That's when the game starts turning nice. It means a lot to me that you've come this far. See, that's the next message. Endured this much, every wisecrack, every insensitivity, every setback you've forgiven me is a kingly gift you've given me. Yeah, he turns nice. It's like you get past Orange Hell and Bennett Foddy becomes Santa Claus. Uh, oh, I don't know why I said Santa Claus, but maybe Mr. Rogers would have been better. I'm I do struggle with this jump up more than I expect to here right now. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna. Oh, and something I like doing is I like paying attention to the monologue's progress as I play through it because I heard it. They were talking. Ooh, that was scary. There was a lot of energy built up in that tilt, but um, we just ran out of dialogue playing in the background. If you're playing well enough, and if you're doing a speedrun, obviously there's way more than 1 minute in the game. The speedrun is 1 minute long. Wow, I landed right on that. Good for me. Uh, the better you're doing, you kind of notice a mismatch between what area you're in and what's being said. Now, lots of people just turn off the dialogue, and for a long time, I didn't. I do now mostly, but I still really think it's interesting and respect it. I do also like how, like, a lot of the early dialogue is just telling you about the philosophy behind uh, this game is reused assets in so many ways. Most of the things that are said when you fall are famous quotes about failure or about people reacting to failure or loss. And honestly, some of those really hit well for me. And it's funny because, like, there is a quote from Abraham Lincoln about loss. And I think the story, because I think I decided to look it up once, is that this little girl's father had died. So, and I think that quote goes something along the lines of, I'm not going to get it exactly right, but the quote is basically like, um, this pain won't last forever. Um, and there's not much comfort I can give you except that eventually it'll end. I'm not doing it justice, I'm sure. I almost want to pause and look it up for you. Perhaps, I'm going to do that. I'm going to pause. I'm going to look it up. You hear me talking in the background, and we're gonna just kind of keep going here. And I am looking up Abraham Lincoln getting over it. Okay. You cannot now believe that you will ever feel better, but this is not true. You are sure to be happy again. Knowing this, truly believing it, will make you less miserable now. One time I found the Wikipedia, not Wikipedia, but there's like a fan wiki for getting over it that has all the quotes from the game. And I just found that really useful to me to pull up and to kind of think over when I was really going through it this one time. And now I kind of sometimes return to some of those quotes. I took the full list, I picked my favorites, and not all of them are going to work for every person. Maybe some of them are like actually bad if you think about them for most people, but there were enough that I was able to find value out of that I really appreciated it. And it feels silly using the words that Abraham Lincoln wrote help, like, I think it was this little girl through the death of her father. Maybe it was his niece. I'm not sure if it was a relation. I can't remember that part of the story, but just a very, very serious thing. And, like, I mean, the thing I was going through, it hurt pretty bad. It really did hurt badly. But, it wasn't as serious as, like, the death of a family member. It was less serious than that. And I'm just kind of going through and realizing that perspective. I mean, pain still hurts. Pain still hurts, no matter what the cause. And so it does feel kind of weird making use of that quote for something more serious than you're in, but also it helps. It helps for me at least. I'm not saying that quote will necessarily work for you, but it did for me in that moment. So we're at the top of the mountain again. That took me 11 minutes 43 seconds, and I said 10 to 20 minutes. I was hedging a little. If I'm really really doing well, I usually get it under 10 minutes, but I can't safely do it under 10 minutes. I probably can safely do it under 15, but I feel more comfortable if I say 20. So that's what I said, is 10 to 20 minutes. And I know this was kind of rambling. I didn't have a prepared script. I was just kind of talking about things that came to mind, but I hope you came away with some sort of understanding of, first off, how to beat getting over it, but second off, what this game kind of means to me and why it's my emotional support game. Because it's just been there for me in some really, really difficult situations I've been through, and I keep returning to it, and I think it will continue to be. And I'm glad I have it. I am glad I have it there for me. Because, things get tough sometimes. And you take what you can get through them. And there's for heaven's sake, go to therapy if you have access to therapy instead of playing this game. Don't say I'm going to play this game as a therapy substitute. I don't want you to do that. Okay, let's be really clear there. Through all of this, I want to emphasize I defer when I'm talking about studies. When I'm talking about this just now, I defer to the professionals here. But I did want to talk about my experience with how this game has kind of helped me in certain ways. Um, I could keep talking. I could probably keep talking and go around in kind of roundabout sorts of ways. But I think I am going to wind this up here. And I don't know if I'm going to do another video like this. I do enjoy this game. I don't know what other games I could do something similar with. This game is just really, really special to me in a certain sort of way. And I appreciate you if you've made it this far because that first half took forever. That first half took forever. Of me just kind of going through the individual parts and getting way more stuck on them than I usually would. And then the second half, I just kind of went in a really different direction that I don't know everyone's going to be into. I hope some of you listening are like, huh, that game really means a lot to him. Um, I don't necessarily also say that I think you should play this. I mean, if it looks cool, try it. You might not end up liking it. Getting a lot of the muscle memory and figuring out the movements. Even though I tried to outline them, it is way different to try to describe them, even when I describe them well. Not everything I described well, but it is way different trying to execute them than it is to describe them. So, uh, just keep that in mind. This game is very helpful for me. I really appreciate it, but it may not be for you, and that is okay. This is not a game I'm trying to tell everyone to play. Uh, but I think it is a game that has more to it than people think. 'Cause people think, getting over it, anger game, but no, no, there is something more to it that I really do appreciate. All right, I thank you for listening, and I look forward to you joining me on any other journeys I happen to go through, whether it's my more regular videos that I like to do, or whether it's something in this sort of style. So I appreciate you so much for making this far, and I hope you have a wonderful day and just wonderful things for you in your life. Honestly, overall, I'm getting a little silly and sentimental. Not silly, but I'm getting, I'm getting overly sentimental here because of just kind of the little bit of a journey I went through here at the end. So, thank you so much, and I will see you later.